Being a journalist means in-depth analysis that unravels hidden truths, that question the status quo and fact-checks government.
These criminal elements hiding under the cloak of surveillance contractors are the APC elements.
Do you have facts to prove that? Being a journalist means waking up every day with a burning desire for peace, equity, and justice for all citizens.
We're being told that the choice you have is to take the lesser of two evils.
It means patriotism via the prism of objectivity and accountability. It means giving my platform to the masses to discuss issues that matter to them.
Some of them, if they bring budget and the budget they look, some of them sleep. They're going to ask how much we are on. I have it.
Thereby shaping government policies and laws. My name is Osasu, and I am the People's Journalist. North to South Africa, East to West Africa, TOS TV Network is your digital-first Pan-African news network, bringing you news from across the continent. Visit our website www.tostvnetwork.com and follow us on social media at TOS TV Network on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode of the Osasu Show. Elections are a core process within a democracy. They provide opportunities for important debates on the future of any country. Nigeria, the most populous nation in Africa with over 200 million people and over 84 million registered voters, will hold its next general elections in 2023. Ahead of the polls, the nation's electoral body, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, have begun engaging stakeholders to increase their civic and voter education. Improving voter education is one of the 5 key goals listed in the 2017 to 2021 INEC strategic plan. With this, INEC aims to achieve increased voter turnout during elections, improve voter knowledge of the permanent voters card and how to get one, and a reduced number of invalid votes at elections, as well as encouraging ethical voting. On today's episode of the Osasu Show, we'll take a look at the very pertinent issues regarding voter education, access to polling units, the creation of more polling units, and other related subjects ahead of the 2023 polls. Speaking to us today, we have Mr. Festus Okoye, the National Commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and the Chairman of Information and Voter Education Committee supervising the Northwest. Don't go anywhere, it promises to be a very intellectually engaging episode. Being a journalist means in-depth analysis that unravels hidden truths, that question the status quo and fact-checks government.
These criminal elements hiding under the cloak of surveillance contractors are the APC elements.
Do you have facts to prove that? Being a journalist means waking up every day with a burning desire for peace, equity, and justice for all citizens.
We're being told that the choice you have is to take the lesser of two evils.
It means patriotism via the prism of objectivity and accountability. It means giving my platform to the masses to discuss issues that matter to them.
Some of them, if they bring budget, the budget they look. Some they sleep. They're gonna ask how much you are on. I have it.
Thereby shaping government policies and laws. My name is Osasu and I am the People's Journalist. North to South Africa, East to West Africa, TOS TV Network is your digital-first Pan-African news network, bringing you news from across the continent. Visit our website www.tostvnetwork.com and follow us on social media at TOS TV Network on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. Welcome back to the Osasu Show. Joining me now is Mr. Festus Okoye, who is the National Chairman, who is the National Commissioner at INEC and the Supervising Commissioner for the entire Northwest in terms of voter education and information. Thank you so much for joining us on today's program.
Thank you.
I had already promoted you to National Chairman. All right, today we'll be discussing about the access to polling units across the 36 states of the nation. I was alarmed when I found out that Nigeria, we have not increased the number of polling units across the nation since 1996. Speak to me more about this, and what is INEC currently doing to increase access to voting booths and polling units across the nation?
You know, as of today, the country has a total of 119,973 polling units. And these polling units were established in 1996 to take care of a voter population, a registered voter population of 50 million. Now, as of today, the country has a total registered voter population of over 84 million, and the number of polling units still remains static. Over the years, because of some of the challenges the Commission has had in establishing additional polling units, we have evolved some interim measures, which in the main has not really worked. First, we started by establishing what we call baby polling units, attached to the main polling unit or the mother polling unit. It really didn't serve us well. Then we started establishing voting points, but it didn't solve the problem. And then for the Federal Capital Territory, when we organized the area council elections, we established voting point settlements to take care of new areas and new settlements that were established after the polling units were established. Now, so during the 2019 election, the Commission had to go into that election with the same number of polling units, but with over 57,000 voting points and voting point settlements. And we felt that this is not good enough. If you look at the whole of the Karu area, if you are heading to Kefi from Abuja, the whole of Karu area has just a total of 4 polling units and over 80 voting points, all clustered in the same place. So on election day, election hardly takes place. So the situation as of today is that our polling units are overcrowded. Most of them are clustered in the same premises, in the same place. People have to walk long distances on election day to come and access some of these polling units. And within the context of the pandemic and under the shadow of this pandemic, most of them are not conducive for the Commission to carry out the type of electoral services that we make for free, fair, and credible elections. And it has also resulted from our own findings in voter apathy. Because if people leave their houses at 5 a.m. in the morning to the polling units and they don't even succeed in voting, or they get to the polling units and there's violence, Most of them just simply remain at home. So this is the situation, and we want to break that jinx.
And why hasn't INEC done anything about this in 25 years? I mean, we could see the growing population. We could see the need to create more polling units. So why hasn't it been done?
Well, Section 42 of the Electoral Act 2010 as amended gives the Independent National Electoral Commission the power to establish sufficient number of polling units and allot voters to them. But you know, there's a difference between the law giving you some powers and you are exercising those powers. Now, the establishment of polling units in Nigeria has been slightly problematic. And this is because people and some stakeholders tend to read motives into it. Some of them see it from a political point of view, some see it from an ethnic point of view. Some also read the creation of additional polling units from even a religious point of view. The Jega-led commission attempted to create over 30,000 additional polling units in the country, but the whole thing was politicized, and possibly maybe the commission did not carry out adequate consultation. So it had to be abandoned, and that is why we have decided to take a different route by explaining very clearly and vividly to the Nigerian people the challenges of conducting election under this environment, and the fact that when we start the continuous voters registration exercise, the country's registered voter population may hit 100 million, and if it hits 100 million, voting will become very chaotic, voting will become very, very problematic, and the type of electoral services that we make for a good voting experience will no longer be there. So that's why we are engaged in very robust consultation and inclusive process in moving forward in relation to some of the challenges we've had.
Aside creating these additional polling units, how can voters be guaranteed that their votes will actually count? In 2011, during the presidential election, over 1 million votes were cancelled, meaning those people who had to trek 10 kilometers to the polling unit, those people who had to carry their babies on their back and stood in the sun for hours, didn't have their voices heard, weren't able to exercise their democratic rights. So what guarantees INEC giving to the voters that their votes will count in the upcoming 2023 elections?
Well, we are starting early and we are engaged in strategic planning. And part of our strategic planning is to expand access to the polling units. So what we are doing is that we have consulted with political parties, we've consulted with civil society groups and organizations, we've consulted with the media, we've consulted with the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, we've consulted with some socio-cultural groups and organizations, we've consulted with the National Economic Council, headed by the Vice President and made up of the state governors. We have also consulted with the Federal Executive Council relating to this, and we have shown evidential picture to buttress the fact that there's crisis and that we need to resolve this crisis before we get to 2023. So what we are doing is that the moment we are through with these national level consultations, we will now move to the stage of implementation and engage in grand throttle. We will go to the various local governments with maps from our GS laboratory showing where these polling units are, where the voting points are, and the places that are either not served or underserved. So we will convert all the voting points and voting point settlements into full-fledged polling units, and then we take it to the people rather than the people looking for polling units. We will take it closer to the people, and we believe that when we take it closer to the people and we have a threshold of 750,000 voters per polling unit, that people will have a very good voting experience, and those who do not vote before will have an opportunity of voting. Violence will reduce at the polling units, overcrowding will reduce at the polling units, and we can provide good electoral services rather than have votes cancelled. Because what goes on now is that a polling unit that has over 29 voting points, when there's a problem, when there's overvoting in one voting point, sometimes people insist that the entire votes from all the polling units, that is the votes from the 29 voting points and the main mother polling unit, will be cancelled. And that has created a huge challenge for the electoral management body, and we intend to break these jinx. And that's why we have engaged in these consultations. That's why we've been very, very inclusive, and we assure the Nigerian people that we are going to pay close attention to both the constitutional provisions and the electoral act provisions in creating these additional polling units. And when we create these additional polling units, and then we start our continuous voters registration exercise, people will now be offered new polling units closer to their homes, closer to their working places, and also closer to their communities. And they will now register, and they don't have to go and fight 10 kilometers away just because they want to exercise their democratic franchise.
And if I hear you correctly, Commissioner, you want, INEC is striving to have 750 voters per polling unit moving forward for the voting population of 84 million people as of today, which I'm sure with the continuous voter registration will turn out to be about 100 million before 2023, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Anambra elections are right around the corner.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. How are we able to implement some of these strategies that you've been discussing for the upcoming elections? Because these are case studies and reflections of 2023.
Yes, we are discussing. What we have done is that we are moving quickly with this expansion. The moment we are through with this particular expansion, then we will start the issue of continuous voters registration exercise, and then we will roll out a new enrollment device for the purposes of voters registration. So the implication is that, one, people in Anambra will have some of these polling units closer to them, since they're going to take the first shot. Secondly, the new registrants will also have new voting polling units that they can register in. Those who have had challenge one way or the other with either verification or authentication of their voters' cards will also have an opportunity of rectifying whatever challenge they have had. So if we deploy this new voting device to other places and are engaged in this continuous voters registration, we may deploy additional number to Anambra, since they are the ones who have early election in November this year. So Anambra will offer us an opportunity to test run some of these new innovations, and then if there are challenges, we believe we will improve with them. But we have some other by-elections that we are looking at. This Saturday we have a by-election in Abia State, in Aba North, Aba South Federal Constituency. So we are test running some of our new innovations with some of these smaller elections, and we are going to roll them out in full force during the 2023 election.
Speaking of new innovations, what's the role of technology in ensuring transparency and promoting integrity in the electoral system?
Well, I'm proud to say that in terms of deepening the use of technology in the electoral process, that INEC has gone very, very far. During the pandemic, the electoral management body in Nigeria was one of the first electoral management bodies that rolled out a program on continuing with the electoral process even under a pandemic. This is because the constitutional provision in Nigeria relating to the conduct of governorship elections inputs dates into it. So the moment you step out of the window in relation to the dates that have been imputed in the constitution, you create a constitutional crisis. So based on that, we move quickly, rolled out a program of continuing with the electoral process and electoral services during a pandemic. Now, during this same period, we got all the registered political parties to file the list and particulars of their nominated candidates electronically. So we reduce human interface between the commission and the political parties. We also got domestic election observers to apply for accreditation electronically. We also got the media to apply for accreditation electronically. And that reduced human interface in the electoral process. We also developed a program that we call the INEC viewing portal, INEC Result Viewing Portal. So what was going on is that we deployed the zipper to each polling unit. The moment elections are over in a polling unit and results are entered into from EC8A, those results are uploaded into this portal for public viewing. So we offered Nigerians an opportunity of seeing the results from the polling units even before they got to the collation centers. So we have deployed technology maximally to this particular process, and we believe that as we move forward, by the time the National Assembly amends the electoral legal framework, that we can now deploy technology in full force into the electoral process. And we are thinking and we are moving forward and moving fast in terms of introducing electronic voting machines in our electoral process.
That's a fine place to leave it. INEC National Commissioner and Chairman of Information and Voters Education for the Northwest, thank you so much for joining us in today's program.
Thank you. It's my privilege to appear in this program.
You're most welcome. That's all we have for you on today's episode of The Osasu Show. Do follow us on social media at The Osasu Show, at TOS TV Network, and at Osasu-Igbinedion on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. To read news and sustainable development and current affairs across Africa, you can visit our website www.tostvnetwork.com. TOS TV is your digital-first Pan-African news network. Go on our YouTube page to subscribe to all our different shows. Take very good care of yourself, keep practicing social distancing, wearing your mask, washing your hands, and God bless you. Until next week. Being a journalist means in-depth analysis that unravels hidden truths, that question the status quo and fact-checks government.
These criminal elements hiding under the cloak of surveillance contractors are the APC elements.
Do you have facts to prove that? Being a journalist means waking up every day with a burning desire for peace, equity, and justice for all citizens.
We're being told that the choice you have is to take the lesser of two evils.
It means patriotism via the prism of objectivity and accountability. It means giving my platform to the masses to discuss issues that matter to them.
Some of them, if they bring budget, the budget they lose. Some they sleep. They're going to ask how much you are on. I have it.
Thereby shaping government policies and laws. My name is Osasu-Igbinedion, and I am the People's Journalist. North to South Africa, East to West Africa, TOS TV Network is your digital-first Pan-African news network, bringing you news from across the continent. Visit our website www.tostvnetwork.com and follow us on social media at TOS TV Network on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.